Hey guys, Stealth here. Today I'm having a look at the deck that was sent in by gabeMoneyT, which is an Eastern Block Mechanized deck. It's been a while since I did a Red 4 deck review, so let's have it. Now, he wrote to me that this deck was designed to handle any situation from a 3v3 to a 10v10 at any income level. It's supposed to attack towns and urban areas, as well as push up and support other players. Now, the description of having a match or a deck that's set up to deal with pretty much anything, ranging from a 3v3 to a 10v10 is okay. I would just not go for any income level, because I feel personally that a tactical game, so a game with low income where you're going to have to micromanage fewer units, demands that you have higher veterancy units, and a game like a 10v10 or a 3v3 you might need more units with a lower veterancy to have more availability. So personally, I wouldn't go for a deck that is this versatile. I would, for example, have a deck with an A version and a B version. The A version being, for example, this one, and the B version being the exact same deck with the exact same units in it, but having the units at a higher veterancy, so that they're going to be more effective in a tactical game. But again, my personal preference. Let's have a look at what gabeMoneyT has in here. Keeping in mind he wants to build the deck around an infantry-centered attack, with mortars as an attack force, Pechota Zmek as a defensive/reserve force, and FGB-40 as a land grab unit with Commandos as backup. He says tanks and vehicles can be used to support a push. Weakness is in a lack of airplane variety, and what would I change? So we're looking at a deck here that's designed for urban. If you're going to do a deck that's designed for urban, you might need a command infantry unit. That is not always viable. It depends on the map, but usually you're going to have maps which have at least some blocks of villages or towns in a command zone. So that's why you might want to have a command infantry unit. The problem with that is that you're going to have less of them. You can only have 3, so you're going to have to sacrifice a command unit or a logistics unit somewhere. And considering that I don't want to do that right here, since you don't get that many command vehicles, you don't get that many command points to spend on, I think that it doesn't really work out that well. So let's stick to the SPW-50PU. Then a FOB, a logistics chopper. I'm not sure you get a lot of variety here. Yeah, you do get a slightly bigger chopper. That's what I would go for personally, because I want to have my recon or my logistics choppers with slightly more supply, so 1500 instead of 1000. Reason is because I have to micromanage less logistics choppers. You get 7 of these or 9 at these. So what I would do here is switch these out and get a couple of the bigger ones in. Then logistics trucks, he has the 815. Good logistics truck. Keep in mind though that if you want to resupply these things using a chopper, you're going to have to use 2 choppers, because a chopper has 1500 units of supplies in, and this unit can have 2400 units of supplies inside. So if you want to resupply them at the edge of a town, for example, to then send the 815 back in to resupply your infantry, bring 2 choppers. So let's have a look. First we're going to have a look at the land grab situation that he wants to do. Unfortunately, in a mechanized deck you don't get access to the LSTRs. They are superior to the FGB-40, but they're more expensive, so it is going to be a trade-off. He has the FGB-40 here in the Mi-24D, so you also get a decent gunship with it, which is also very, very fast, 330 kph. And with the FGB-40 you get a decent all-rounder. They are kind of like Spetsnaz, but the Spetsnaz, sorry, not the Spetsnaz, the SAS, in the sense that they have an RPG and a Strela, so an AA missile. The thing that I would do here is be careful with your AT force, because their armor penetration is only 17. Commandos have 15, so you're going to have to bring in some anti-tank units pretty soon. Seeing as the so-called doesn't have an AT capability and the Mi-24D does, but the Flyta only has 16 armor penetration, so even less than the infantry. Other than that, the setup looks good. He has 7 of these at Elite, 9 Elite Commandos, and the so-called transport chopper for these is the best, since it's definitely faster than the slow Mi-2, which travels at only 200 kilometers per hour. Then, once you have control of a town, you want to use Concours M to support them with a longer range anti-tank missile. Accuracy on these is 50%. They carry 6 missiles with an armor penetration of 23, which gives them a pretty good chance to go through any armor if they hit. That is always a problem with these things. But I think that in a deck like this, you're going to have to use them. And then he has 5 Groms. Considering that he has 98 infantry units in here, I think that we can kill off one group of either Picota or Motorschützen and get another group of AA in, because one group might not be enough, especially if you're defending multiple times at once. Of course, the FJB-40 do have their AA, their Strela 3, but the Grom is just so much more superior to whatever missile the FJB can fire. Anti-infantry force-wise, he has Zeniszcze. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. Let's see if this is the best engineer option for this deck. Because we got the Zeniszcze, we got the Sturmpioniere, which is only a 5-man group with a napalm launcher, compared to a 10-man group with a napalm flamethrower. And we got the Sapper Z. Sapper Z is a 5-man squad, but again with a RPO Rice. It depends on your preference. What you could do is combine 2 groups of these as a sort of cheap version of Spetsnaz. They're still going to be very, very effective with these napalm rounds, but with 5-man squad they're going to be pretty easy to wipe out as well. Zeniszcze, slightly less so, because they're a 10-man squad, but their range is less at only 350, so it's a trade-off. But considering this is his deck, he went with the Zeniszcze for a reason. What I would do is have probably the Sapper Z. I think that they suit my preference better. Let's see if we get any interesting vehicles for those. They don't really have that many interesting vehicles. The MTLB-23 Crack would probably be the best because it has an autocannon which can support that infantry unit. Still pretty fast, 60 kph off-road, 500 km autonomy. That's not great, but hey, it's only 15 points. So those guys are out, and I'm going to bring in 9 of those to make them a little bit more accurate and a little bit more likely to survive, since I don't expect to be using a ton of these. So let's have a look. He has 28 Picota Zmek, or Z Mechanized. I think that's too many of them. I think that you don't really need 28 of these and then 28 of these. This is 56 units of infantry, mind you. And then you have your elite commandos. So what I would do here is at least one group of these out and possibly spend the command points on something else. Let's have a look at what other units we can get. Maybe another group of commandos, commandoses I should say. Because these guys are 15-man squads who are also very, very capable of fighting infantry. They are a lot more expensive than Picotas, I know that. But I think that they're going to be more effective. Let's see, rifle-wise, we got the Motorschützen 90, Motorschützen base. Please go with the Motorschützen 90 because they got the RPG-7 VR with 24 armor penetration versus the RPG-7 with only 14. And yeah, this is what I was afraid of. You don't get that many different infantry units, and you don't get any shock troopers. Don't go with reservists, please. They're not that good. This battle rifle is pretty damn terrible. 40% accuracy, a very low rate of fire. This anti-tank weapon can still do quite some damage if they hit, which is not that likely with 25%. So please don't rely on these units to be your main infantry. Anyway, what should we do here? Let's select all. First off, I'm going to kick out one of these Picotas because I don't think they're that good. Motorschützen are far superior. So we're going to throw out one of these guys. Their transport is a BWP-1. BWP-1 has the Grom, it has a Majutka. So these are pretty effective against vehicles with their 12 armor penetration. BWP-2s have an autocannon which is more effective against infantry. BWP-2D are slightly upgraded versions, I think. They got the Concours. They also got the Concours. What's the difference between these? Accuracy 15%. I don't see it actually. 55 kph, 65. More armor. You're going to sacrifice a bit of speed for more armor. So it really depends on how fast you want to bring these in, but considering that he has a reservist role for these guys in mind, I don't think that we need a great vehicle with heavy armor. So we're just going to stick with the BWP-1. Let's have a look at the motor chutes and transport. Both of these are brought in the BMP-1 SP2, which is pretty much the same choices that you have for the Picotas, in the sense that they also got the Grom. These got the Concours for 5 points more, which is slightly better. They got, I think, the same trade-off here. Let's see, this is the 2C, this is the 1C for 2 frontal armor. This one is 2 frontal armor, 2 side armor. Unfortunately, you cannot really compare these units easily. I cannot put them side by side like you would with infantry. The BMP-2, by the way, is also an interesting unit in the sense that it is one of the few units that has a good weapon, the TA-42 autocannon. Accuracy-wise, it's pretty terrible, but that's pretty much the same problem among all autocannons. And you don't have to look after the Concours. They are 5 points cheaper than the units that are like the BMP-2C with their Concours, so you're going to be paying slightly more. Again, personal preference. I have no problem with rolling with the BMP-1 SP2. BMP SP1 could also work. Yeah, again, it doesn't really matter that much. But what we're also going to do is kick off one more group of motor chutes, because I think that 28 is still too many. Or we're going to throw out one of these. We're going to use the Picotas to hold the town. That is, if it's not a frontline town and we still want to have some infantry in it, that's what we can do with these guys, or use them as reservists. These guys are going to be main force. 14 of them should be enough, with 14 Picotas as backup. We got the Commandos, we got the FJBs, so I'm going to throw out the second card here as well, which is going to put a significant dent in his infantry amount, but still 65 units should be enough. Unfortunately, you can only have one Grom, since it's a prototype unit. So the next best thing would be the Strela 3. It's not a great unit, but you get quite a high amount of them, and you get the Vidra 2 transport, which has a great autocannon on it. It has the VK30, good rate of fire, decent mix between armor penetration, accuracy and stabilizer. So let's go with 9 more of those to aid with the Groms. And then I want to get a bit more Commandos. In the sense of the FJB, sorry, not the FJB, the Commandoses. Commandoses, in my mind, are better than the FJB at dealing with infantry, because they got the RPK and the AK-74U. This thing has a significant higher rate of fire than the FJB-40. They're a 15-man squad, that means they're harder to kill. You got the RPG-16D, which has significantly more charges than the RPG-7V, at the expense of only 2 points of armor penetration, and they do get 20% more armor accuracy. So we're going to get with 7 more of those. I might not need the Mi-24D, but the Mi-24D upgrade over the Mi-24A is worth it. That Yak B is going to be very effective at killing infantry, much more so than that NSVT machine gun. So, support-wise, let's see what he has here. AA, Sopel, good anti-air unit. Not great, but it's only 45 points. Let's see what other gun systems we can use. You can go with the Tunguska, although it's pretty pricey at 85 points. It's not the Tunguska that you might be used to from the USSR. This one is a slightly worse version in the sense that its AA missile is worse. It doesn't have that 3,300 meter range, but this thing is still better than the range on, for example, the Apache longbow, so you can kill them before they can hit you. Range against airplanes is significantly less, but I think that this one, since we already have quite a bit of infantry AA, is going to be better than Sopel. So what I'm going to do here is bring in the the 256, or sorry, the 2S6. Let's say the Tunguska, because I prefer the Tunguska over the Strop, the Sopel, sorry. Then long range AA platform, Cub M4, solid choice. It's a nice weapon. Great range of 4.5 kilometers, good accuracy, high HE power. The Niwa could be a slightly better choice for 5 points more, in the sense that you get one more missile, you get the same accuracy, but you get more armor. And this means that some of these units can take a hit of a tank if they really have to. Of course, if they're taking tank fire, something has gone wrong in your defensive setup, in the sense that they are too close to the front line. Off-road speed, it doesn't really matter much, 45 versus 35, so what I would do here is go for the Niwa, because it has one more missile. Availability wise, let's see, 7 Cubs versus 5 Niwas. So for this we get 7 times 3 is 21 missiles. This one we get 5 times 4 is 20 missiles, so you got slightly less. Yeah, considering that, I'm still going to stick to the Cub M4. I think he made the right choice here. Then he has a artillery unit, the HB 2S1. Not sure if this is the best unit for this deck. It depends on what you want to do with it. I would go for something that can snipe enemy units. So something like the Pivonka, which has a great dispersion of only 45-50. The Piwonia is, I believe, the exact same unit, just a different designation. And I do like the high HE value of these things. Rate of fire is not great, but hey, you only have to hit the target that you're shooting at once or twice and it's going to go down, unless it's a tank. So that would be my preference here. I'm going to take 3 of those. And then he has Prem S mortars. You don't get a lot of options. You get the Prem S or the Tunsha. Prem S is definitely my preference because it carries more of these mortar rounds. Tank wise, you get a pretty decent choice here in tanks, particularly because you're working together with 3 nations. Wilks are great tanks, if only you could get more of these. He has 5 of them at hardened. Nice mix between amount of armor penetration that they have, accuracy, frontal armor and maneuverability, so a good tank. T-72 M1M with the sphere, a good support tank for the Wilk. They're not going to be as effective at killing other tanks, while their 18 armor penetration is not bad. They're slightly more mobile than the Wilk, in the sense that these guys are 10 kilometers faster. So keep in mind that they might outrun your Wilks if you want to push with these together. Then he has T-55 AM2Bs, a couple of Bastion missiles on those. I think that the Dyna might be better. Reason for that is that the Arcan is a very quick ATGM with a better range, better armor penetration and better chance to hit. You will be paying slightly more, 10 points, but that is definitely worth it for me for the Arcan. And that's not the only thing you're getting. You're also getting a little bit more armor. Off-road speed's the same. So yeah, you get a bit more armor and a better ATGM. So that's the unit that I would switch up. And since these are going to be support tanks, let's just go with 14 at trained. Then he has 18 T-72s. I don't think that these are the best option really. Unfortunately we don't get access to the T-72A here. But the T-72s, yeah, what can I say, they're not that good. Accuracy is pretty bad, 35%. They do have a decent weapon on them with 13 armor penetration and some frontal armor. But the Jaguar might be better in the sense that you gain 10% of accuracy, you gain a bit of armor, you gain a bit of armor penetration, you gain stabilizer. It's only 10 points more, but I think that 10 points is worth it. So T-72 outs, T-72 is out and the T-72M Jaguar is in. Let's see what he has in Recce. We got 1 Reconnaissance infantry group at shock level. Decent RPG, decent PKM. I would use these as passive spotters, so let's see if we have any other good options. Unfortunately we don't get access to the Kampfschwimmer, for example, with their exceptional stealth. He has these guys. Special Aufklärer would also be an option. These guys are also very good at stealth. They're also they're all very good at stealth except for the Grenzers, so don't go with the Grenzers. I don't think they're that good. These guys brought in the Mi-2T. Not the best helicopter, pretty damn slow. I would personally go for the Sokol because the Sokol itself is faster. You're going to get to your destination quicker, and you're going to get this autocannon, which is a nice addition. So I'm going to switch those. Then he has 14 of these T-55 tanks. Some people really like their exceptional or their very good recon. That's not something you get on the T-55, but you do get a unit that can help your tanks out if it needs to. For this situation, I'm not sure if it's the best weapon to use. It might be better to go with one more group of infantry, because you're going to be in command of quite a bit of towns. And with that, you're going to have reconnaissance infantry in the town as well to start spotting for example, your HGM infantry. So I might need to bring in an additional group of reconnaissance infantry at the expense of either one unit there or some of the vehicles that he has in here, which is an extremely high amount. Yeah, here we go. ZS50U72, you don't need 36 of these. So I'm immediately going to delete one of those. It gives me 1 point. I'm going to have to hijack another point somewhere. 18 is way too many still, so I'm going to upvet these to 14. They're infantry killers. They can be an efficient force at destroying infantry in the open and in towns. They have a decent rate of fire, some HE power on them, only 2 though. They can go after helicopters and airplanes, but mainly use these for infantry killing duties. Here's the Concours M ATGM transport. Also the Concours. This is a very, very high amount of AT transports. Or AT vehicles, I should say. They're not transporting anything. So, considering that, I'm going to delete at least one of these Concours. Because even with a setup like this, you still have plenty. And I'm going to upvet them to Veteran to make sure that they have a better chance to hit. Concours isn't the most accurate missile, 45%. He has the Pram S fire support unit. This thing can do a lot of different duties. Anti-infantry at a great range, 2450. It is pretty similar to the role that, for example, the Centurion AVRE has, although that tank has a very, very high HE value. This one does have a decent rate of HE of 5. It has a Concours, it has an okay machine gun, and it's 40 points. You can use them to support your units, but it will mean a bit more micromanagement. And I think that with a setup like this, we have a decent amount of anti-infantry with napalm, anti-all-round with the Pram S, ZSU-57s for anti-infantry again. Might be too many, we might not need these. Concours, more Concours M. Again, I'm going to upvet these to further boost that 50% accuracy. Then I'm going to go back into infantry, into reconnaissance, and get one more card of infantry. And instead of having those in a pretty expensive Sokol, I'm going to go with them in a Star 266 to make sure that they can move up with my other infantry that's in the transports. Helicopter-wise, he has the Mi-2 URS, which has a Strela 3. Not the best of AA missiles, but it gets the job done. It is only 3 HE power though. So you're not going to one-shot any chopper, not even the ones with 4 strength, because they'll still outlive this missile. You might consider not going with these, and actually you don't get a lot of other options. Now disregard that. Let's go with the URS, because it is going to be an okay support unit for the initial land grab, although it will lag behind. He has the URP with the Strelas and the Malyutkas. I'm not a big fan of the Mi-2 line because they're too damn slow at 200 kph. But they do have the all-round function. Although they are all-round terrible at everything. They have a bad ATGM, they have a bad Strela, so I'm going to throw them out. Then he has 7 Mi-24Ws. Pretty much just a standard Mi-24P. I'm not sure why they're designated with W, but just consider an Mi-24P and you're good. The one difference is that the Mi-24P has 80 rockets of 80 millimeters, and this one has 57 millimeter times 64, so slightly less. But they do get the Kokon, which is a nice anti-tank weapon. And then the Mi-25 S24, pretty much mandatory for an Eastern deck if you can get it in. because these 4 240mm rockets are going to do a ton of HE damage to pretty much anything that they touch. And if you really like these things, go with a second card of them, although I probably won't be using that many. You can also go after vehicles, transports, or tanks with the fly tab, but I wouldn't really recommend it because their accuracy is pretty terrible. The real attraction of this unit is that S-24B missile. In the air tab, he mentioned that he doesn't have a lot of airplane variety. He has the MiG-29 913S, which is a great air superiority fighter for its price. Good ECM, good turn radius, some short range AA missiles, some longer range Wimpel missiles with the semi-active tab, or semi-active tag, so not fire and forgets, keep that in mind. Other options, I don't think you get a lot of great other options. You can get another one of those cards if you really wanted to. Let's see, these guys might be a better upgrade. For only 15 points you get fire and forget Wimpels. I do like fire and forgets, because you don't have to micromanage them. You can just fly in, get a couple of missiles off and evac the unit before you even see the missile hit. So I'm going to adjust the MiG-29 913S, 913S for the East German one instead of the Polish one, because of the fire and forget tag that the guys get. Then he has a seaplane. I don't think that you really need a seaplane, although he does have quite some units in helicopters. So considering that, yeah, you might have one of these handy. And then he doesn't have a tank sniper in here, he doesn't have a bomber. I freed up, or if you want to call it that, I liberated 3 points from the helicopter tab by deleting one of the Mi-2s. So we can now bring in preferably a multi-role, in the sense of the MiG-29 912A with its thermobaric bombs. These bombs are dropped as HE bombs, doing 12 HE damage, and then they explode into napalm. Which, considering that this deck is all about taking and holding towns, would be a great addition to this deck. So let's go with 2 of those. Let's see, he has naval units, all airplanes. These guys at least have the same speed, the MiG-29K and the Firebau, but the MiG-29K does not have the best range on these anti-ship missiles, but they do fire 4 of them. Haven't used them in a while, so yeah, why not? Let's keep these guys in. Su-27Ks are going to be faster, but if you can get these things to hit with that huge missile that they carry at the middle of the frame, the musket, you're going to pretty much either kill off half the ship or the entire ship, depending on what kind of unit you're firing at. And then he has the Ball and the Kubej, both with anti-ship missiles. I don't really like the Kubej in the sense that it has low accuracy. These termites do a ton of damage, even more than the musket, with 120 versus 160, but they're just not that likely to hit. So let's see what other anti-ship artillery we can get. We can get the Redoute, which has again a musket with even higher at 200 armor penetration, but they are they're pretty numerous at 6. So let's go with those. The reason I'm picking this one over the Rubej is the fact that they have 35% more accuracy and 1400 meters better range. So I think that, considering that gabeMoneyT wanted this deck to be master of everything, this might be a slightly better option. I'm not sure if everyone agrees. Actually, I'm sure that not everyone agrees, and that's fine. Use this deck, adjust it, import it using the deck description or the deck import code in the description below. Make your own adjustments and have fun with this deck. Gabe, I hope you found this video useful in seeing how I look at this deck. You have enough AA, you have enough AT, you had plenty of infantry, too much even. So I changed that up a little bit. And let me know how the deck works out, because I'm not sure I'm going to be having time soon enough to make a video about this deck. With that, thank you for watching. Like the video down below if you haven't done so already, and please subscribe if you want to get your daily wargame fix. Thanks for watching, see you next time.